How's training? Because it looks like you're doing some secret training for something.
I'm not doing secret training for something because there are no races coming up.
There's loads of virtual races.
I know. I posted one for the 9th of August.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do that one because that one is in support of women's causes.
Okay.
For gender-based violence. But yeah, the thing is, I miss the element of a race. I used to look forward to races because, you know, we'd be a lot of people in one place.
Okay.
And you'd have motivation around you. So now I've been running alone and it's getting kind of boring. It's gotten to the point where I'm running one route over and over and over and over.
Yeah, that is
my house to my grandmother's house.
Okay.
That's
sounds like a support system set up just in case you get tired.
Yeah, I've got one water point and I know 4 kilometers water and then 2 kilometers, then I'm done.
Brilliant.
At least that's something.
Brilliant.
And how have you been?
Yeah, okay. You're cooking or something on fire?
No, sorry. Somehow switched my music on. Let me just take my watch off because it's being activated by my watch.
Bless. Yeah, I'm good. I can't complain really. I mean, we shouldn't complain.
Hi. Oh, I was saying the internet here is not really the best. So sometimes the video is choppy.
Hey, Atle, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't hear you, but yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, I was asking, how are you?
I'm good, cheers.
How's it working from home?
He always works from home.
Yeah.
Oh, but now you're home as well. So
yes.
You're together all the time.
Exactly. Frustrating.
No, I was just about to ask.
Instagram,
Bye, Carol. Yeah, so I think we can start with the interview.
I'm many things. That sounds terrible when I say that, but I'm many things. I am most importantly proudly female. Yeah, that's who I am. I would never have said that in my younger days, right? I always thought being a boy would be better, but yeah, I'm proudly female, and I'm Carl's wife. And I'm a very proud scientist, and then only am I a cyclist, and then only am I a runner. Like running's way at the back of all the things that I do. It sounds terrible, but yeah, that's me really. I'm South African, living in London, working at the university as a lecturer in clinical medicine. Yeah, that's me.
How did the scientist bit come up? Did you grow up in Bloemfontein thinking I'm going to be a scientist one day?
Oh, no, definitely not. I grew up knowing that I like helping people. And that sounds so trivial when I say that. I sound like everyone who comes for an interview. I love helping people.
And you can work the pressure.
Yeah, I love helping people. It's like my passion, and I'm so gonna be so famous and with my passion one day. Anyway, so yeah, I knew that I loved helping people. My mom always tells a story about me when it was a school running race, and we were at the start line for the 100 meters, right? And the girl next to me fell. And instead of racing, I decided to help her up and then started running. So yeah, since I can remember, I always cared for others and therefore knew I wanted to do something with that. And then I ended up going to uni and studied science and went to do a little bit of medicine and then sports science and sports medicine. And yeah, I always knew I wanted to do something where I could make a difference. And with science, being, you know, one of the things that I really enjoyed doing, to be fair. Not the maths part, don't get me wrong. Ugh,
No.
can't stand it. And now statistics, I hate even more. I'm sure my supervisor will be watching this and she'll see that I've just said that. Yeah, but so I knew from a young age, I knew that I was interested in stuff and I loved reading. So yeah, I was encouraged to explore that side of things by my parents as well. So yeah.
Clinical medicine, I immediately think doctor.
No. No, so it's all allied health. He was like, yeah, that's what most people think. Most people think that a hospital is a doctor and a nurse and that's it, right? And the hospital is made up of so many different people that are actually supporting, you know, healthcare as a whole. So it's not just those two people, those two professions that work in the hospital. I mean, the most important people in the hospital are the cleaners and the people who feed the people, right? Those are the most important people. If you ask anyone, I even tell this to my students, you make best friends with the catering staff when you start your placement, because the catering staff are the ones that will be giving you those extras when you turn up for lunch, you know. And if you need you make best friends with the porters, because those are the ones that will take your patient instead of someone else's patient. Yeah, you make friends with the right people. But yeah, so clinical science everywhere really is made up of many things. One of the things I teach on is healthcare science, which is all physiology. So a lot of the stuff that the clinical scientists do is the tests. So the doctor receives the reports, right? And then they just read whatever's been done. But the clinical scientists are the ones that have actually done the tests. So 80% of the decisions that get made about diagnoses is made by clinical scientists. So the doctor sounds and looks he's the one that makes the final decision after putting all of the stuff together, right? But the people who are on the ground doing the tests, that's pretty much what I teach. So yeah, and main focus is cardiology. So I teach him cardiac sciences.
I think also why that stereotype is perpetuated like that, it's because of shows like Grey's Anatomy, where the entire show is about doctors. You know, you don't get
looking
to see
good. No one looks like that.
You don't get to see any radiologists.
No.
You don't get to see anybody except the doctors.
Yeah.
I
And
think that's
no one looks like that. There's no doctor that looks that good, right? Mid surgery, please.
And still perfect.
Yes.
I remember
perfect hair, perfect teeth. It's ridiculous.
perfect makeup. I
Crazy.
think I was looking at a Tulga one day. I think that's how you say it. And he wrote a book called Better. And on the back cover, is him wearing his scrubs. And I just thought that doesn't look like the Grey's Anatomy doctors.
Exactly, right? No, there's no way. But yeah, they have to be there so I can then interview people who think that that's real life.
And you're like, no.
And then after the first year, they sadly realize that it's never going to be like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you've got a hierarchy of activities that you do, and running is at the bottom. So your fitness journey, how did that start? Because you mentioned that you ran in primary school.
Yeah.
How did it start? How has it grown over the years?
So I ran because I gained weight. That's how running started, really. And because, I mean, you know, back home, you're kind of forced at school, I'm doing that, right? Kind of forced at school to do more than one sport. And you either have to have one summer sport and one winter sport. You can't just do one thing. So I mainly played tennis all of my existence. Since I've been like this big, I've always played tennis. And it's a very lonely game, but I mean, I enjoy the lonely. I hate the doubles. I hated it because it's a team thing, and I hate letting people down. So therefore, if I hit the ball into the net, I'm letting my teammate down. Whereas if it's just me, then I can only let myself down. So it's only my fault. But yeah, I hated doubles. So I've always played tennis. And then in standard 8? What's that now? Grade
10.
Oh, good. Thanks, Carl. Grade 10. I gained loads of weight, like loads. Like, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then I ended up joining the cross-country team. Not really to lose the weight, just because I couldn't fit into my hockey skirt anymore. And I had to have a winter sport. So, because school says summer and winter sports, so you have to choose. So I ended up joining the cross-country team and started running, and then did fairly well, really, with my fat bum, and started losing the weight, which, whew, yeah. But then I enjoyed it. The team did well. We were a nice group of people. You were just running for yourself. I never got like provincial colors or any of those things, but I enjoyed running, and I continued running until I got into university, and then changed to triathlon. Yeah, because it just looked like a really good sport to do. There was really hot guys, and they were not wearing a lot of clothes, and that was the place to be. So I mean, tiny speedos. I mean, who wouldn't fancy that? So then joined the triathlon club at Varsity and bought a bike, and since then I've done triathlon. Old school triathlete.
How was old school triathlon different to today's triathlon?
Well, old school triathlon doesn't involve wearing all of these gimmicks that all of these people are wearing, like all these socks and these special sunglasses and all of the faff with all the clothes and this specific bike and all of the stuff that needs to go on the bike. No, just the normal old school triathlon where you kept some snacks at your transition space. That was it. Yeah. Oh, great. And then you got all your snacks along the route if there was any. So yeah, that's very much different.
And you didn't have 3 different outfits.
Well, I did have 3 different outfits when I did my Ironman, though. Only because it was 40 something degrees when I was doing it. Yeah. So my very first Ironman that I turned up, it turned into a non-wetsuit swim. And everyone seemingly almost wanted to die sitting next to me.
What is a non-wetsuit swim?
So meaning that we aren't allowed to wear our wetsuits. So the water is too hot. So, and I mean, the risk of you dying wearing your wetsuit in hot water is higher than you dying drowning without it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I wear my wetsuit, the water temperature on the inside and my core temperature rises by 2 degrees. So if the water is over 21, I'm not allowed to wear my wetsuit because my core temperature will rise by 2 degrees, right? So you can have heat stroke in your wetsuit. So it's not safe to swim in your wetsuit in really hot temperatures and hot water. That's why they do the hot water test or the water test. So yes, it was a non-wetsuit swim, which was I love that because our wetsuit is so I hate the wetsuit. It ties me down. It feels like it squeezes everything. I can't use my arms properly and I can't breathe. And then I changed out of my costume into my cycling kit. And then because I was on 180 kilometer cycle, and got back and changed into my running kit and then started doing my marathon. But yeah, it was just too hot not to change clothes. And I wasn't there to win, you know.
Mm-hmm. You were just doing it for the fun of it.
I was doing it to get a medal and say I've done it. But yeah, no, it was good.
I find it really interesting that you could cycle 180 kilometers and still run a full marathon.
Yeah, so do I. Don't you worry. It's like halfway through, you kind of think, because you do one thing at a time, right? That's just, you don't think about the next thing, right? Because some races, when you end up going, oh, I have to hold back because I'm still have to. No. Rule number one that I've learned when I started doing triathlon, like rule number one, you do one thing at a time. Just, get to the other side of the swim, touch the side. Yes. Swim done. Bike. Now I just bike. It's all I need to focus on is the bike. Don't worry about the run. Because if I end up worrying about the run, I might as well just start running because I'm wasting energy. So don't worry about that. And yeah, so good.
And is there a conversion ratio between essentially the cycling effort and the running effort, to say that maybe 20 kilometers is equal to 20 kilometer cycle is equal to 5 kilometer run? Is there a conversion like that?
I wouldn't read. I mean, scientifically, there might be studies out there that could prove that. I mean, we'd have to investigate that. I'm sure there would be something out there that would convert that, but I haven't come across that, or I've never thought about it that way. The one thing I do know is that since I've been cycling now, loads more because of lockdown, my running is definitely better. I'm not struggling as much as if I was just running. And
you also mentioned something else called Cyclo-Cross,
yes,
which I was very interested in.
Oh, Atle, it's such a nice sport. Did you go watch it on YouTube?
No, I'll do that after this interview, but for everybody else watching this,
everyone else who doesn't know, it's a very old sport, right? It's a conversion of road cycling and mountain biking. Like ages ago, the guys who were training for the Tour de France couldn't train in the winter, and it wasn't as global. Things weren't as global as what it is now. People just fly everywhere. People train in Spain or wherever they want to train, or chasing hot weather. They had to make use of training in the winter time, so they invented the Dutch and the Flemish or Belgians or whatever. They invented a sport called Cyclo-Cross. Pretty much cycling a road bike in a muddy terrain or on sand and going for 45 minutes as hard as you can up these steep hills, carrying your bike up steps, riding down them. Yeah, it's definitely the most fun you can have in a lycra suit. It's true. No, I think I enjoy it so much because it is so hard, and you have to go full out
all the time
for 45 minutes. It's like going to a spin class and having your resistance set at super max and someone shouting at you to go faster.
I've been to a spin class. Wow, it was so confusing because I like increase the resistance to something, decrease it. Okay, now pedal, go faster. Okay, now increase it. I was so confused because the bikes at the gym have these colors on the screen. So the more you cycle, the color changes, and then the instructor will like take it to red, and now you're sweating. I don't know about cycling here. I still don't know how to ride a bike.
Well, you'd have to start learning how to ride a bike, though, if you want to go do this triathlon thing that you've been bragging about, mentioning every now and then.
Not so sure about bragging. One day, Ironman. One day.
Yeah, well, do a baby triathlon first, and then go from there. A sprint. Yeah. I say baby, I mean sprint.
Yeah, I first need to, learn how to swim in open water comfortably and ride a bike. And then I think I'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds all doable to me. Yeah.
Definitely. I know you mentioned that running's not your first love, but like, what are your? Because we met through running, actually.
We have, right? Yeah, I know. See, but I like running because I meet people.
It's not a lonely sport, except when you're running alone. But in terms of the races and whatnot, you get to meet people and from different phases of life that you wouldn't normally get to mix with.
Exactly.
In different careers, different locations, make friends worldwide. Like, this is an example. I know you've done Race to the Stones, and I first heard about this race from a lady on Instagram who had done, I think she won it in 2014 or 2013 or 2015, and she was like 19 or 18. And I was just thinking, 100 kilometers, that is longer than Comrades, and people here revere Comrades.
Yeah, but I mean, Comrades is a road race, right? There's a massive difference. So I can hand on heart say that Race Through the Stones was not as hard as the Two Oceans. I found the Two Oceans was way harder than Race to the Stones, purely because it was on road. Whereas with Race to the Stones, it was like every 10K there was a feed station, and man, the feed station was like next level.
And it had food.
Yes. Oh my word! Not just food. You could pig out, like pretty much just stay there and eat yourself to death and then carry on. And there is no cutoff, right? So you could carry on for 2 days. I think that it's a 30-hour cutoff. That's way easy. I mean, anyone can do that. Like really, you can walk it. So there's a walking event as well, and I think that's what makes it so. Everyone mutually respects the fact that everyone's done 100K. Doesn't matter how you got to the end. And I think that's what makes Comrades, and that's what makes the Two Oceans really, really hard events, because there is a cutoff, and you have to have kilometers in your legs and have cried many times during training, which I did in January, to make sure you hit the targets that you want to hit, so you can just make the 12-hour cutoff. God, how sad. But yeah, that's I Race the Stones is fun. It's a real fun event, and I think that's what makes it. It's easy. It's hard, but it's easy in the sense that everyone there, if you're walking, if you're running 2 days, if you're just running the 1 day, if you're running one whole day, all 100Ks, everyone there is super, super nice and super friendly and just so respectful of what you're doing. And the support is amazing. So yeah, it's the races back home is really, I feel races back home are an event in itself, because there's nothing like that. The support in the event, the supporters on the outside, there is nowhere in the world that's like a home. But this is, I mean, Race to the Stones is completely different in that sense, that you have your competitors are with you, are support. If that makes sense.
The support system. Are there any more races? Are there any other races worldwide that you'd still like to participate in?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to do a race there's a race in Borneo that I would love to do. I know, it's like a jungle race. I'd love to do that. It's a 7-day carry your backpack and your own food type event. I'd love to do that.
How long is it?
It's 380 kilometers.
That is like the pilgrimage that I read about in Paulo Coelho's books.
Yes, well, you could still do that if you want. There's still an event for that.
What is it called? The pilgrimage of?
I think it's the Camino de Santiago, one of those.
Yes. That Santiago word was in my head right now. Yes. read about people doing that, and
Mm-hmm.
I've read some of his books about how he discovered himself on that pilgrimage.
Loads of people do it, and they definitely discover themselves. But I mean, every time I do something that's like crazy like that, it's crazy. You'd really learn something new about yourself. Because
That's
a lot
true.
of people do ask, why are you doing this? Are you raising money? I'm like, no, I don't raise money. I run for me. I run for me and myself.
That was like me leaving Joburg and going to Bloemfontein. That's the distance.
See, it's possible.
And it's far. It's far.
It's all possible.
So you've lived, I could say you've lived half and half, right? Lived half of your life in South Africa, lived a half of your life in the UK. Are you gonna come back home at some point?
I'd love to come back home. I'd always love to come back home. Is there a job for me?
I think there would be a job for you.
There hasn't been when I've applied, so yeah, I'd love to come back, but it's not in the near future.
Another a runner that I was interviewing earlier on, so she came to London this year, and she was saying that South Africans in London like hanging out with other South Africans and discussing South
Africa. Really? I
She
suppose
was
it
saying,
depends on how you go about making friends, I suppose. Yeah.
she said she made friends with people from other countries because she didn't want that experience of thinking about home and meeting up with people from home. She wanted to expose herself in a new environment with new people and actually immerse herself in the culture of that country. So are there like any major differences in terms of doing races in South Africa and doing races in the UK, or rather in Europe?
So there's definitely massive differences. Like, yeah. No. I mean, from the people who come to the races to the event organization to the support along the route, all of that is very, very different. If I think about races back home, I would always say that I would always feel when I'm there, the majority of people that are there can actually run. Oh my days, I didn't just say that out loud. I did think that in my head, but now I've realized I've said it out loud. Yeah, majority of people that turn up there can run. Majority of people that turn up here are happy to be at the back. I mean, they're there for a different reason, you're right? They're not all there to win. Where I feel like at least 50% of the people who turn up at races in South Africa can win the race. Right? Like, let's be fair. There isn't people who turn up just for the fun of it. I've never gone to a race in South Africa, stood at the start line and someone go, oh, this is my very first time that I'm running this, and standing like in the middle. I mean, if you know that you're a first time runner, you'll be standing right at the back, right? Yes, exactly. See? Yes. No, not here. That's not how it happens. Yeah, because they trained for this, right?
Oh, I find that very interesting.
So self-confidence, I would say, is different.
And you mentioned to me that your commute is rather hectic. So how do you balance your fitness and going to work?
Yeah. So, well, at the moment I have no commute. Although I still walk to the station just to make sure that I keep up my station walk fitness.
Yeah.
But yeah, before lockdown, it took me 3 hours, which is pretty standard for most people. Even, I mean, yourself, you drive an hour, right, to get where you need.
I drive an hour because I leave after traffic. But if I was required to be at work at a specific time, then I would also have 3 hours on the road every day.
Exactly.
But I'm in a extreme case. Because when I get to work, people are like, what? You drove 60 kilometers? Why don't you just move closer? So the standard here is you start working and you move closer to the office.
No. You see, I think you and me, we have the same type of feeling. I stay as far away from work as possible, just in case it snows. Then I can phone and say, yeah, it's not possible for me to get there. No, but I love the area that I'm living in. It's so green, a green space. We have loads of parks around. I would not want to move close to the city just so I can be closer to work. It makes no sense, like absolutely no sense. So I'm lucky as well, where I have a current job that doesn't require me to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can travel off peak and be there when need be, and then I do a lunchtime run generally, or I do a lunchtime bike session, and then I would do another session somewhere in the evening. So yeah, I try and train twice a day. One, it keeps me sane, and two, it prevents me from killing anyone else.
And on weekends, then you do races, but that's where you up your mileage.
Yeah, I would up my mileage in the week itself. So my lunchtime run would turn into a 2-hour lunch.
A 2-hour lunch run.
Yeah, running for 2 hours. Or my commute would be, I would travel halfway and then get off the train and then run the rest. So,
wow.
So I would combine it in such a way. Weekends is mainly running either with friends, trying to meet up with people who I haven't seen in the week, just because work is from 9 to 9 or 8 to 7 or whatever. Yeah.
I find it very interesting though that you've managed to change your life around your training. Like you say, you get off the train and you run home. That for me that's next level here. I haven't heard anybody say.
Well, no one has to get off a train or off a taxi, right? It's like, oh yeah, taxi, can I stop here so I can run home, please?
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody do that. But maybe because everybody here drives.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't directly leave your car by the side of the road and say,
yeah, I'll pick you up tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's much easier this way.
So since lockdown started, a number of issues concerning women have been highlighted more than they have in the past. For example, in South Africa, the rate of gender-based violence increased with lockdown. So in your thoughts, what do you think are the major issues that are facing women right now?
In general, or in regards to like violence itself? Because here it's just as bad at the moment. It's next level. It's really next level at the moment. I feel like it's hitting close to home. I've had a student contact and say that it's happening to her, which is quite a thing. It's quite sad to hear. And other issues just with lockdown?
No, not just with lockdown, in general, in a broad sense.
Female issues. Maybe I'm a little bit narrow-minded about this.
Over the last 2 days, I've been watching. It was 2 days ago. I literally spent the entire afternoon watching Chimamanda videos on YouTube, and she was speaking about feminism and her experience of being a woman in Nigeria. And she was speaking about her going to America, and in America, that's when she realized that she was actually a Black American. Because when she was in Nigeria, she didn't notice race because the majority of people there were Black people. So I found that really, really interesting.
It's quite an. She wrote a book, right?
She wrote Americana. Half of
Oh,
the
that's
Yellow.
what. Yeah. I read that. I was gonna say I read that. That was a very good book. But
It
it's
was.
it's a very good book. I have to
It
say I did read that. So over, let's think. I mean, if we think about, if we say feminism, we take it back to science, which is the one thing I always fall back on, would be,
Mm.
is have you read The Invincible Woman?
No, it's actually the
Okay.
first time I hear about it.
Okay, I will take a photo and send it to you. There's a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot of science stuff in there, talking about, say, for instance, blood pressure medication at the moment. So all blood pressure research has been done on men, and we all know that my makeup is different from your makeup. Therefore, how is all the generalizations of how many milligrams of drugs I should be taking based on research done on men? So my hormones were completely different from yours. So how is that even at all related? If we have females over the age of a certain age, having the HRT hormone changes, saying that they become cardiovascularly more, or there's a higher risk of them developing cardiovascular disease, how are we not doing research on them and we're just doing research on males? So, I mean, that's probably one of the areas that I feel like females have been left out when it comes to science. I mean, that's just one example of research that's done just on men, and then the rest of the world, it's just oh, here we go, prescription, everyone gets the same type of cholesterol drug, but it's gone. Is it working for me? No, it's not. So yeah,
I find it interesting that that is the case. I've actually never heard of that. So since then, are there new studies that have been done on women then? Or this is just the general rule of thumb, this is how it is.
this is how it's done. Yeah, this is how it gets done. If you
And
look
then
at research studies from like who's the guys back home? I was gonna say pharma. Which pharma guys do clinical trials back home? They generally don't pick young females. They just end up picking say males in a certain age group, and they would just do their drug tests on them.
Wow, okay.
Is it Quintiles? Are they the drugs company? Why do I think it's that?
I haven't heard of them. The only one I know is Aspen, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think that was probably one of the things where I was like, wow, you know about these things, and we hear and we read about these things where we're underrepresented in big companies, and we're underrepresented in science making decisions. But that was also the first time I've read the book. I was like, I'm so angry right now. Why am I so angry? It's like, why am I so angry about this? So yeah, I was quite upset about the fact that all these decisions have been made about healthcare, and none of it's been tested on females. It's just, oh yeah, they're just a smaller version, therefore they can get a smaller dose. And no, we're not a smaller version. We're definitely different.
I wonder if that same principle is still being used throughout today with the introduction of new drugs like ARVs, and if the COVID vaccine is found. I read that it was found. Not sure if it's being tested though. If they would actually test it on females, because I know VITS is also doing their testing for a vaccine.
Okay.
For trial testing.
Trial testing.
I read the other day that Russia found a vaccine, so they're gonna start the trial.
They probably maybe I should know. I won't say that right now. But yeah, just in case, just in case just in case. We don't talk about Russia or China on here, you know, just in case.
But the UK is also doing the testing, I think.
I mean, they probably would be testing it on their Olympic athletes, and then before you know, they'll be winning all the medals. You see? So,
which
hence,
brings no, go on, sorry.
No, as a hence we don't talk about them.
And I was gonna say that brings us to our next question, where I was gonna ask you, in terms of women in sports, what do you think are the biggest issues right now?
I would say one of the biggest issues that still hasn't gone away is, and it's never gone away, is eating disorders. And it sounds silly, but yeah, it's probably one of the biggest things that hasn't gone away. Because if you look on anything on Instagram that has the word either diet or keto or something in it, there's a lot of body shaming and a lot of just unhappy people. So I would say in sports that is probably one of the biggest things for females.
Do you think it's across the board for all sports though? For example, like if you're a marathon runner or a female rugby athlete, you know that you need to fuel your body. You cannot skimp out on what you're eating because you essentially need that energy to perform. So you think that still extends to sports like that?
Yeah. No, definitely, because we all would like to look a certain way. You know, there's a certain way to look. Yes, I might be playing the forward for the national team in rugby, but I still have to look a certain way, and therefore I will follow a certain diet, and that might not necessarily be healthy.
And with that, there might be certain pills or chemicals that you would consume
Exactly.
that way.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
rather interesting. I didn't think it would transcend to women's sports, actually.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, it's getting harder. The sport, like those physical sports are also becoming more professional, right? So this will be the same as with the men's game, where you end up having to be bigger, be stronger, and you'll have to adapt in a certain way, and therefore you'll have to follow some type of diet that will not be beneficial.
There's a magazine, I'm not sure if in America, I can't remember if it's Esquire or Sports Illustrated. It's one of those sports magazines, and they used to release an annual issue called The Body Issue. And you would think such efforts actually help in deteriorating or rather getting rid of these pressures on the athletes. Because in that magazine, they would show the different athletes and doing the specific sport, but they would be naked.
Yeah,
So it actually that this is a rugby player, this rugby player is big, or this is what this player looks like.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that, you know, such efforts are not really translating into a decreased consumption of like illegal substances or
no,
these
sadly
diets.
Sadly not, because unfortunately we all spend so much time staring at other people's lives on our phone. And you know, you only even I mean, I've seen loads of these in the last couple of weeks where people have posted photos of themselves standing in a certain way, and then they would go and stand in a different way and go, you know, this is actually what I look like. So if I position my body so then you can't see any of my fat rolls and my cellulite, but if I just sit like this, then I have it as well, and just to show, oh, this is reality. But yeah, it's difficult to change that. Oh, but look how beautiful you did look in the 7th picture from 6 days ago. So yeah.
And as much as we know that social media, rather that these apps are fake, we still get consumed by them.
Yes, exactly.
Oh. That's the psychology behind social media.
It's massive.
It is. And Corona, so right now we're in lockdown, and we've seen an increased interaction in the digital space like this.
Yes, like it's taken us all the way to Corona for me to have a chat with you on. I know, right?
Actually,
that's crazy. This is
this
insane.
is this is because of Corona that we actually have our first video call since we met probably 3 years ago.
I know, right?
Wow.
This
So
is disgusting.
It is what it is. So I was actually telling another that this is what school is going to be like.
Yes.
Somebody said the fourth industrial revolution that we've been talking about is here.
Very true.
So for you personally, how has COVID-19 affected you?
Personally, work-wise, personally, life-wise, life-wise, I am the fittest I've ever been. I mean, I should, I know it's crazy, right? I should actually sign up for some event and I'm not injured, which is a miracle for the amount of training that I'm currently doing. But it's definitely, I'm spending so much time on the computer. It is insane. And life has, like, work is now, as much as I like work to be 3 hours away, it's now here. And I'm living it daily. So work hours have actually become longer, which I find crazy and a little bit frustrating, because I now have to be proper time managing, and I'm not the best at it, because I'd like to do stuff and finish it, if that makes sense. I'm one of those that I'm not finished with work until my work's done. And yeah.
And now you're here on your laptop when you should be running and you're still working.
Exactly. Or when we were locked down, going nowhere, I was on the computer doing virtual running or virtual cycling. So I was still on the computer staring at my avatar. So yeah, I feel like I've been spending a lot more time like this. I'm getting better, I think, because I do like to meet people face to face, and teaching a class, that's become the hardest thing to do. Only because I'm more of a physical teacher. So I mean, you can see my hands, right? I'm in front, making gestures, also throwing people with pens when they're not listening to me. Like now I can't do that. I know, right? And now everyone turns up and no one shows their faces. So I don't even know if they're there. I could be talking to like someone in space. It's really very frustrating. Yeah, so it's very frustrating. I mean, some students, fair enough, I probably don't want to see their faces. I'm hoping they're watching this today. But yeah, a lot of them I'd love to see their faces and have because I teach engage. That's how I teach. But and I know when your eyes are like glazing, I can see and spot you, and then go, you have to listen to me.
What's the answer?
That's how I go about it. But now it feels like their eyes could be glazed, and it could just be the sun shining on their glasses whilst they're staring at me, and I won't know. So yeah, I'm finding this bit of my life is, yeah, it's changed how I have to teach, and it makes it really hard for me.
So how has the university or how do you administer tests, exams, assignments?
So assignments they wrote exams. They've had to write exams. And we're one of the few universities that actually wrote the exams. Everyone just I think they got their averaged from the assessments that were done before lockdown. But we ended up doing, because I do the heart scan and sonographer, we had loads of those videos, and it's not like you can go and look up the videos online and then try and figure out. You still have to write the report of what you see in the video. So I ended up putting an exam out, and students were allowed to have 24 hours to complete the exam. There was, I think it was like 70 something questions, and they had to then write the answer, report what they see, and then give references of why they say. So it was like an assignment with referencing or citations, but as well as looking at what's presented. So a lot of that was what happened. A lot of it was open-ended questions, and they had to write mini essays to then answer the questions. So yeah, that's pretty much how we ended up dealing with it. It worked out well. The guys, so if I compare what the grades were in the class tests, their final exam was more or less similar to what they've achieved in class tests. So yeah, I don't think they did any worse or any better. They just did the same as what they used to do. So yeah.
And I think that's going to be the new standard of executing assessments and exams. I'm not coming to the exam to just write the answer, but rather substantiating why you're saying that.
Yeah, I prefer that.
And I think that's going to transcend to even first year level.
Yeah. I think it's great. I think it's really, really good. So when I first did my MSc here, that's how they've done it since I've, like, you have to know your stuff and be able to say why, not just know it. Yeah, which is easy when you come from like a clinical medical background where you just pretty much you just had like verbal diarrhea, and everything you can remember you just say. Now it's like, oh no, but why do you say that?
But isn't that more work for you in terms of marking?
Yes, it's more work for me, but it is also, for me it's easy because in class I do the same thing. You'd give me an answer, I'd ask you to explain why blood pressure is higher in Afro-Caribbean men, and then you would give me an answer and I'd go, yeah, okay, that's fine, but why? So then you explain yourself and give a reference, and that makes it really easy to say, oh yeah, you know what you're talking about, because you
understand.
you have knowledge and understanding. So no, it doesn't really make it harder. If you just give me the answer of why you think, but you can't say why, then yeah, you can't get the grade.
I just want to check the Instagram to see if there are any questions. Haven't done that yet. Okay, so from a while ago, somebody just said they can't imagine you're overweight.
Oh, I will send you some photos and you can post it on this. Yeah, I've been.
I also can't believe it. I cannot imagine you overweight.
That's very kind of that person to say that, but yes, I was round.
I think going forward, interactions like this are going to be
normal.
Standard.
Yeah.
But what do you think our new normal is going to be?
What is our new normal?
As society.
As society, I think we're actually going to be way more connected, if that makes sense. Look at us, right? It's taken us 3 years to have a chat online. We could have done this ages ago. I think we're going to be way more connected. So global is now just going to feel
smaller
in your house. I also think it's going to be very fast paced. I think the pace is going to pick up massively. I mean, have a think in the last 2 weeks, how many series on TV or Netflix or have you watched, right? Just think about it. You don't have to confess to the world.
My YouTube taste changes every day. On one day, On Monday, I was all about Chimamanda. And then on Tuesday, I was watching Bob's Burgers. And then on Wednesday, I was watching something else. I feel like I'm going through the entire YouTube collection.
Well, there you go. The algorithm will not be able to keep up with you.
No, it actually doesn't, hey, because it suggests old stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
So I'm over that already. See, but this is the thing. So you've technically already changed, like your taste has changed in 2 weeks' time, right?
It has.
Okay, so can you imagine how fast-paced that would be from now on? I mean, you will just continuously change stuff that you're watching all the time. So I think it's just going to be really, really fast-paced. I think technology is going to be, especially from science and medicine, it's evolved massively in the last 4 months just on how we will be teaching people to do stuff. So yeah, the stuff that's coming out at the moment is ridiculous.
It's not really a question, but rather a request for you to share a message to the women of South Africa for Women's Month.
Okay. A message to the women of South Africa for Women's Month. I would say a good message would be for us to be able to work together. Doesn't matter which race or creed or what we identify or any of those, but for us as females to be able to work together and not put each other down or looking for all the bad in someone else just so you can feel better about yourself type scenario. I think we will be better. It'll all be better if we work together and are stronger as one unit rather than putting each other down by saying some bad stuff, naming names. Yeah. I would hope that we could work together. Doesn't matter what you do or what work you do. Yeah.
It's a very inspiring message. It reminds me of watching these talk shows.
Oh, great. A talk show.
I think it was Tyra Banks or something, where she was fighting against pull-her down syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Where women constantly fight against each other.
Yep, that's so true.
For no reason.
No. Just don't want the sun to shine over you. I'd much rather have the sun shine over me, but not just me or all of me. Just don't let it shine over you. It's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
The one thing I like about having these sessions is that every time I speak with another woman, there's something else that I didn't know that I learned. I'd really like to thank you for connecting with me. After 3 years? I still use your socks, by the way.
Oh, really? Well, we'd have to make a plan by December time then.
And I still buy Stuns. The last time I bought Stuns socks, the one they had, it was a collaboration with Random Crew.
Oh, okay.
Random is like a running crew in London.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the last pair I bought. I really like the socks.
Yeah, so do I. They're really, really cool. Really, really cool. Yeah.
So that's enough.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me on the show.